could a peaceful walk turn into a scene of terror and flames? The exact question many are asking after a shocking attack during a Jewish community event on Sunday, which left 8 people injured, including a Holocaust survivor and a suspect now facing federal hate crime charges. Well, as we delve into the details, these and many more will be explored in today's Flash News. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Tabitha Ako. Let's begin. President Donald Trump has condemned the attack which occurred at the Pearl Street Pedestrian Mall, where members of the local Jewish community gather weekly for Run for Their Lives, a walk calling for the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. In his words in a social media post, horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. He came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. He must go out on the Trump policy. Acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. Well, my heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder, Colorado. Now, that's President Trump's statement right there. Meanwhile, the event held peacefully for months turned into a firestorm when a man later identified as Mohammed Sabri Soliman, who is 45 age, began shouting pro-Palestinian slogans while setting people on fire using Molotov cocktails and a makeshift flamethrower. Authorities say at least 8 people, 4 women and 4 men between the ages of 52 and 88, were injured. 2 were airlifted to Denver area hospitals, and at least 1 remains in critical condition. Now, among the wounded is a Holocaust survivor in her 80s. Now, let's take a look at this video.
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can!
Not here.
You have to end silence!
Not here, bro.
You're not!
I'm taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back.
Spraying alcohol.
Spraying alcohol, but with goodness, he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
Stop! And for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails.
if you are fighting, you have the
That's what he's got right here. Is
You
Molotov
are
right there.
thousands. They are killers.
Get back, Mom.
Stop it.
Just stay away. Just stay away. He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails right there.
Where you fucking belong?
And you going to jail, man. I don't give a fuck. You don't antagonize shit like that. You cause this shit.
He's not.
Right.
He didn't do anything. Chill.
I don't want to hear it.
Everybody get back. Everybody get back. Everybody get back.
You're going to jail.
He's right there. He's on the ground right there.
Who was the person that got attacked?
Right here.
Shit, man. This guy right here.
I wasn't even here.
No, this guy is the one that got
This video points to the horrific attack in Colorado. And then it asks the question, what message does this actually send when survivors of historical atrocities once again fall victim to hate-filled violence in broad daylight? Bystanders described a scene of terror and heroism, with patrons from nearby restaurants rushing in with buckets of water and ice to extinguish flames. Their pants were completely burned off. It looked like their skin had melted, one witness reported. Now, horrifyingly, Mohammed Suleiman allegedly planned the attack for over a year. Could imagine that, delaying it until after his daughter's graduation. He arrived disguised in a utility vest carrying a gradient sprayer filled with gasoline, and several Molotov cocktails, 14 more, were found near the scene. Now, court documents say Suleiman admitted to building the incendiary devices after researching online on YouTube. He expressed no remorse and reportedly told investigators that he wanted to kill all Zionist people and would do it again. That was such a guts. Well, authorities are also examining whether Suleiman has a history of mental illness, though his precise planning raises further concerns about ideological extremism. Meanwhile, this attack comes just days after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were killed in Washington, D.C. by a gunman who claimed to be acting for Gaza. Now, the close timing of both incidents has raised alarms about the potential rise in ideologically driven violence targeting Jewish communities in the United States. And then this points down to how many warning signs must be missed before ideology turns into action, like we've been seeing in the days. Suleiman, who is an Egyptian national, entered the United States on a tourist visa in 2022, which expired in early 2023. Now, he filed for asylum later that year and was granted temporary work authorization, which expired this March. He was still in the country illegally at the time of the attack. He is currently being held at Boulder County Jail on multiple felony charges, including federal hate crimes and the use of explosives during a felony. He also faces 2 counts of first-degree murder, although no fatalities have been confirmed. His bond is set at $10 million, and a court appearance was scheduled for Monday afternoon. Federal and state prosecutors are expected to provide updates during a joint press conference. Also, officials lifted evacuation orders on Monday, and government offices around Pearl Street remain closed, but the emotional wounds are far from being healed. This wasn't a political protest, said a local community leader. It was a peaceful march by ordinary people, mothers, grandmothers, survivors, now scared by something far bigger than themselves. Now, how should a free society respond when hate walks boldly into the public square? This is gradually becoming an ideology turned into actions of hate crimes, and all perpetrators need to be taken under legal considerations. Well, taking over to Russia and Ukraine in the Middle East. In one of its boldest operations in Ukraine yet, Ukraine launched a highly coordinated drone assault on Russian military airfields deep inside Russian territory, damaging and destroying dozens of valuable aircraft used in strikes against Ukrainian civilians. Well, according to Ukraine's security service, the attack hit 41 aircraft, including strategic bombers and surveillance planes. While it's unclear how many were completely destroyed, the impact is significant. Justin Bronk of the Royal United Services Institute in London called it a stunning success for Ukraine's special forces. He emphasized that even if half of the reported aircraft were confirmed damaged or destroyed, it would seriously weaken Russia's ability to conduct large-scale missile attacks and maintain nuclear patrols near NATO and Japan. Could this mark a turning point in Russia's ability to maintain long-range aerial dominance? Ukraine's drones struck 4 key air bases: Belaya Air Base, which is over 4,500 kilometers from Ukraine's border, Olenya Base, which is 2,000 kilometers away. We have Dykhilev Air Base, which is 520 kilometers away, Ivanovo Air Base, which is 800 kilometers. Also, we also got reports that a 5th base in the Amur region was also mentioned, but possibly not attacked. What made this so effective? What made Ukraine's attack so effective? Come to think of that, Russia's overconfidence, probably. Russia's prized aircraft at Belaya were parked in the open, visible on public satellite imagery like Google Maps. Now, was Russia's reliance on distance for protection a critical security oversight? Despite advanced Western-supplied weapons, Ukraine's conventional missile system can't reach that far. So instead of flying drones from Ukraine, operatives smuggle them into Russia and launch them close to the target. So how did Ukraine pull this off? Well, we'll see that Russian air defense systems were caught off guard. The only effective deterrent, heavy machine guns, weren't deployed in time. Take a look. Well, right there on your screen, these photos and videos, which was verified by CNN, confirm the drone launches occurred near these bases. The SBU says 117 drones were used. Operatives hid them in wooden cabins with metal roofs, loaded them onto trucks, and drove them near the bases. Some reports also suggest the trucks were purchased and operated by a Ukrainian living in Russia who hired drivers to move them. However, no official confirmation has been made, but Russian authorities are now searching for a man named in local Telegram channels Baza and Astra. Meanwhile, Ukrainian agents reportedly returned to safety before the attacks began. Also, President Zelensky noted that the mission was planned for 1 year, 6 months, and 9 days. Does this level of infiltration suggest deep Ukrainian intelligence penetration within Russia? A senior Ukrainian drone official told CNN that the drones were likely controlled remotely, possibly through Russian mobile networks using local cell phones to avoid detection rather than Starlink or other easily traceable systems. Now, the attack scenes were dramatic right there in the video. Now, 2 drones are seen flying from a truck heading toward Balaya Air Base, with smoke already rising from a previous strike. Another shows the drone truck engulfed in flames, likely self-detonated. And right there on the video, the facts are right there. However, Russian authorities attempted to downplay the incident, stating only a few aircraft caught fire. Russian military bloggers called it a disaster. The influential Ryba blog described it as a tragic loss for the Russian air fleet and blamed criminal negligence. Meanwhile, Ukraine claimed the strike cost Russia $7 billion in damage and took out 34% of its cruise missile carriers. CNN couldn't independently verify those numbers, but then among the reported aircraft hit were 27 Tu-95 bombers, 4 Tu-160 strategic bombers, we have 2 Tu-22M3 missile carriers, and 1 A-50 surveillance plane. Now, how quickly can Russia replace these Cold War era bombers that are no longer in production? There's a huge loss right there. The Tu-22M3 is particularly valuable and able to fire missiles from Russian airspace without entering danger zones. Russia had 55 Tu-22M3s and 57 Tu-95 at the start of the year, according to Military Balance 2025. Now, this operation raises urgent questions for both sides. Is the balance of aerial power shifting, or is this just a symbolic victory? Whatever the answers, this strike shows that distance is no longer a defense in modern warfare, and that Ukraine is willing to take the fight directly to Russia's military heartland. However, as the days go by and our ceasefire talks are underway, lives are being lost and properties are being destroyed. The war has to come to an end. Well, moving over to Africa, in India, at least 34 people have died in India's northeastern state following 4 days of relentless rainfall that triggered severe flooding and landslides. Officials and local media confirmed on Monday that the India Meteorological Department has forecast also that there will be more heavy downpours in the coming days, raising concerns about worsening climate conditions. Now, in Himalayan state of Sikkim, more than 1,000 tourists were stranded due to blocked roads and rising water levels. Rescue operations are underway with the Indian Army assisting in evacuation. Similarly, in Meghalaya, over 500 people trapped in flood areas have been rescued by emergency teams. Neighboring Bangladesh has also been hit hard. In the Sylhet region, at least 4 members of a family died in a landslide over the weekend. Also, authorities have opened hundreds of temporary shelters across the hilly districts of Rangamati, Bandarban, and Kagrachari to protect those at risk. Right there on your screen, both regions are highly vulnerable to extreme weather events. Torrential monsoon rains regularly trigger flash floods and landslides, affecting millions each year. In Assam Silkur City, floodwater submerged homes and roads. Residents are struggling to cope with the crisis. We are facing a lot of challenges. I have a child. His bed is underwater. What can we do? We stay awake all night in fear, Sony Devi, a resident, told Ane. And as seen on the screen, it's a disastrous situation right there. However, emergency services have issued alerts for flash floods and landslides, urging people in vulnerable areas to stay vigilant and relocate if possible. Officials are monitoring river levels closely and have advised against travel to high-risk zones. Also, according to the National Disaster Response Force, climate change is contributing to the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events in South Asia. Environmental experts also warn that deforestation and poor infrastructure in hilly terrains worsen the impact of natural disaster. This is a critical situation and some of the causes of climate change we get to experience in the world. However, rescue missions need to be put in place to save lives and properties. Until next time, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's Flash News. Remember, I'll be bringing you recent happenings on Undaunted at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Until then, do have a pleasant day and stay safe.